Okay, kids, come on, stand up here with me so that they can see who my audience is. There we go. This is my audience today. Okay, you guys can go ahead and sit down. Thank you. Okay, kids, today we're going to talk about the importance of immigration reform. The purpose of this is to inform people and to persuade you on the importance of comprehensive immigration reform that benefits everyone, including the immigrants. I want everybody to take one of these maps and to pass it down. And on these maps, we can see in this yellow spot off to the right, which is called the Mexican Cessation in 1848, the part of the United States that actually used to be Mexico. And inside of this part, at the bottom, where I have marked off, here's Arizona, where there was just a controversial new law that went into place about the effects about immigration. Immigrants are an important part of our economy. And like I just pointed out, some of our country actually used to be Mexico. Bet a lot of you didn't know that. And also, in regards to immigration reform, reform needs to start with us. We need to reform the way that we think and act towards immigrants. And reform also needs to be targeted at businesses and not just the immigrants that come across the border. Businesses are the ones that actually take advantage of these people and us by getting provided a cheap labor base. As we all know, targeting the immigrants doesn't work. And it also adds to anti-immigrant backlash. Just like the law I told you about that went into effect in Arizona, that instead of targeting the businesses that employ these people, it targets the immigrants that come across the border to this country to make a better life for themselves and their families. And it just punishes the people that are trying to live. Our country is actually built on immigrants. So, all of us in this room are actually immigrants or children of immigrants. At one time or another in our family's history, we came across the borders of the sea into America as immigrants. So, our country has actually been very welcoming to immigrants in the past, and it's only in the last few years that our country has become anti-immigrant, not wanted so many coming in. Because, as I said before, immigrants help to build our nation and to make some of the things that we have right now that are great. So aside from the Native Americans that are actually born in America, all of us are immigrants. Here's another thing that I actually learned in my last semester in the book written by Farringer called Out of Many on pages 710 to 712. There was a program called the Becerra Program, which was negotiated between the United States and Mexico to help the United States win the war. And what they did was they brought over 200,000 workers from Mexico into America to help work in the factories and in the fields to provide the food and the machines needed to fight the war overseas. Because at this time in the history, during World War II, when we were fighting abroad, a lot of our men and a lot of the people that actually worked in these places were gone, fighting the war. And because they were fighting the war in these countries weren't able to keep up because we had workers, a lot from Mexico and other South American countries, to help us make the goods we needed to win this war. And we all actually benefit today from the workers that come across the border. Did you know, this is something I learned in the movie A Day Without a Mexican by Aruf in 2004, that in the state of California, 90% of the crops that are picked by migrant workers. So that means every time you eat an orange or, say, a strawberry, it was probably picked by an undocumented worker that came into this country just to pick that fruit for you. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is that 20% of the K through 12 teachers are Hispanic in the state of California. This is another thing I learned, by the way, in the movie A Day Without a Mexican. Immigrants actually don't harm our economy either. We all need to know that immigrants actually add to the tax base by paying taxes. This is something I found out by looking on the internet at the taxfoundation.org of 2010, that immigrants really do add to our tax base. And they actually take very few public services from the tax base, like food stamps and welfare. Most people that come into America from other countries are coming here because they're hardworking people and they're trying to make a better life for themselves and their families. We need the taxes that are generated from these people. Did you know, this is another thing that I learned in the movie A Day Without a Mexican, $100 billion just in the state of California is generated in taxes from illegal immigrants. And of that $100 billion, only $3 billion is ever put out in public services like food stamps or public hospitals and schools. So that leaves $97 billion just in the state of California in tax revenue. So without immigrants in our economy would lose a huge part of its tax base, as you can well see. So and another thing that we need to know about reforming the immigration laws is many of the laws that we have right now are old and they need to be updated. They need to be reformed. People don't know the truth. So we need to take it upon ourselves to get the truth. We need to learn the facts for ourselves by researching for ourselves and not letting the TV spin doctors tell us how to think, how to act. That means if you watch one news station that spins to one side, you need to watch the other news station that spins from the other side. And you'll get a more well-rounded approach to what is really going on. And there's also independent news sources like British Broadcasting System, which if you Google it, you can find it pretty much anywhere. Another one is NPR, the National Public Radio, which you can also find by Googling, and you can find where to find your local NPR station. The same with PBS, you know, that station that none of us watch anymore because it doesn't have the really cool programs that we like to watch, like Lost and some of the different reality shows. But all of these stations have great resources of independent news. So we do need to change our laws concerning immigrations, but laws that punish people, they don't help. Laws need to be aimed at the real offenders, and it's the corporations that are taking advantage of these people as well as us. After all, undocumented workers are just like you and me. All they want to do is to come to this country and make a better life for themselves and their families. Thank you.